Okay, we are live. And hello, my name is Cindy, and thank you for coming to this channel. And I am a virtual teacher. I have worked for VIP Kid, which now is VIP Teacher. And I've also done a lot of tutoring in my own clients and things I've worked on out school. And this video is going to be for teacher friends, anybody who is looking for a part-time job, maybe teaching online. And I met this lady Meaghan here, and she has a company called Florentis Learning, and she has made up some resources for teachers who want to teach online. And she's just kind of started this company, and she's looking to help teachers. So thank you for coming to my channel, Meaghan. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I do have a lot of in-person teacher friends as well, and I think they're starting school. So some of my faithful followers are probably busy today teaching, but my school doesn't start until, well, we have teacher work week next week, and then we have a week off, then we start after Labor Day. So I still have a little bit of summer left, and I'm really interested in finding more about your resources. And could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, my name's Meaghan, and I am a Canadian. So I'm from Prince Edward Island, actually.
Oh, wow. Now that's oh my goodness. My daughter just loves that place. She wanted to go there for her honeymoon and she didn't make it. So now I have a connection.
Yeah. So she'll still have to
Awesome.
come. So it's still summer in PEI, which is the best time of year.
Yeah.
And here students don't go back to school until after Labor Day as well. And I used to teach here in person, but now I have a number of private students. I, on occasion, pick at a few lessons with VIP Teacher. I've taught with a variety of different companies, but really out of a need for my own private students, I needed something that was really interactive and engaging. And in particular, I have a couple of beginner level students, and the materials I was using just weren't cutting it for them. I needed something that was more comprehensive, brought in, phonics and spelling and those types of things as well, so that I could use that to support their reading skill development. And one of them, his name is Bobby, he needed things he could do, right? He needed to be able to click on things. He needed the things that moved and made noise and did stuff. And so I had started really just by remaking some of my existing lessons for him and found that they worked really well. And then ultimately I ended up rebranding all of my lessons and then building and developing a whole bunch more. So now we have 363 lessons, I think is the count as of today, adding about 10 lessons a week. And I have a core curriculum, which consists of 6 levels, a speaking curriculum with about 50 lessons there with 3 different levels of speaking, phonics lessons, and even writing lessons for beginner writers. And so these are lessons that I've tested and used in my classroom with my students. And so I'm usually tweaking them and adjusting them as I get them in with a student or a different student. And I'm like, oh, it'd be nice if I had a little button I could click here that gave me an extra question, or maybe I would need an extra review question for this. And so I'm constantly sort of tweaking and adjusting. My background actually is in curriculum design and teaching. I have a master's of online learning in curriculum development and online teaching, and a Bachelor of Education as well, and then a Bachelor of Science. Classroom experience, online experience, sort of the whole gamut, lots of teaching experience. And these work well for, one-on-one tutoring or small group tutoring, or even, they would work well for homeschooling, or they would even work well in like resource type work with classroom teachers who are doing resource work with ESL students.
Okay.
Because there's such a wide variety of levels.
Okay, so we teach, we say ESL, English as a second language. So, like I teach the kids in China,
Mm-hmm.
and the VIP teacher also goes to other countries. So far, I've mostly only done China. Um, there are a few other countries that I've heard people have been teaching. So these are good for anybody who is learning English as a second language, not necessarily just, American students.
Yeah, exactly. The phonics lessons would work for American students as well, who are
Okay.
already English speaking for sure. And the beginning writing curriculum would work well for them as well. And, truthfully, even some of the lower level lessons, if you were learning to read or teaching students to read, because of the activities that are built in, they probably would work really well for American students who are learning to read. Not so much when you get into the higher levels where we're really
Right.
focused on vocabulary and speaking and, definitely developing those English second language skills versus, the foundation material really is the same for all of our beginning readers, whether they're ESL or not ESL.
That's true. Yeah.
You might get through some of the lower levels faster, or you might say, oh, I don't want to do that unit, I'm going to skip it. But, ultimately our base is the same. And certainly the beginning writing lessons are based on a writer's workshop, which is what we use here in Canada to teach writing in classrooms.
Okay.
And so that was really based on my in-classroom writing experience to then sort of translate it into slide decks, right, that are interactive. So certainly a classroom teacher who was doing writing could do the same sort of lesson. There's the mini lesson is there's the guided writing activities, and students would just write on paper instead of writing on a screen. So
Very cool. So do you help kids to write on the paper, not like they write it on their paper, and how do they share that with you?
So when I'm teaching online, students, if we're co-writing and working together, then we write in the chat or on a sticky note on the whiteboard or something like that. But when I'm teaching writing, I often give writing homework as well. And so they write on paper and they send me a photograph. And then I put the photograph up on screen and annotate it just using,
nice. Okay.
my typing tool and my drawing tool and whatever, and we edit it together. And then I can send them an edited copy back with all of the notes and corrections, just again as a picture. And they can then make the changes and improvements, and then we put it into their book actually. So when I'm teaching online writing, we use Book Creator. Lots of classroom teachers are probably familiar with Book Creator. It's an awesome tool. It's free for up to like 40 students, I think. And it's really nice because you end up with this virtual portfolio. So once the students have sort of polished their writing, I will either take a picture of it and shove it into their book in Book Creator, or we'll type it in, and you can put in drawings like they've done. But you end up with this really sort of cool flip book, right? Like an electronic ebook. Their parents can see it, they can see it, we can see it. And I have a student that has been doing writing a couple of years for sure with me, and has about, I don't know, 60 or 80 pages in his book.
Wow.
And but when you look back and look at like page 1 versus page 80, it's like, his mom's like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, just look back. And it's like, oh, wow, like he can really write. So it's
that's awesome.
It's a really cool tool.
So how do you learn all this stuff? Like, how do you learn all these techniques? Just playing around with your computer?
Yeah, I'm pretty techie.
Okay.
So I've done a lot of instructional design and e-learning development.
Oh, right. Okay.
And built actual e-learning courses for variety of groups, government, nonprofits, businesses, Honda Canada, like, the US Air Force, like all sorts of different things.
Okay.
And so I love technology. And so, when I come across something, I'm sort of like, oh, what does this do? And so I'm sort of.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I did go through some of your slides and I'm like, how does she learn this? She's really techie. And so when you're paying for somebody, a service, this is what I really love about this learning nowadays. I mean, if you can find a student who wants to learn, you can pick your own teacher. You can pick a curriculum that is top of the line for a decent price, and the sky is the limit, really. You know, this is really exciting. And like you said, for American kids, there's so many kids that aren't learning how to read. And I know that they all have Chromebooks. They all have, know how to play video games, but they still don't know how to read. And there's no reason for it. It's because we're not really giving them the right resources. I taught a student today. He's actually one of my in-person students. And I'm like, yes, I'll tutor you, but we're going to do it by Zoom. And I use the Canva slides, and we basically just use it like a chalkboard. And he's having the time of his life. I wish people could see how much kids love to learn if they're in the right situation.
Yeah.
And that's what's
it's
so
about
exciting.
that's about like it's about figuring out what engages that particular student, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I know I've had students in-person classes, and you've got these reluctant readers who are often boys.
Yeah.
And but the story you're asking them to read is about a puppy that's
Exactly.
it's like they don't care. This is
Or
not
the kids
interesting.
washing the dishes for their mom.
Yeah, right. Like it's like I don't care. Like this is a stupid story. Why do you want me
Yeah.
to read it? And
Yeah.
so we need to have materials that really motivate students to
Yeah.
want to read, and certainly in trying to identify some of the topics, for thinking about functional language, because my focus primarily was ESL, but thinking about functional language, well, okay, that's we want to think, well, we want to be able to have a conversation in a restaurant. We want to be able to have a conversation at a movie theater. We want to be able to have a grocery store conversation,
Right. Mm-hmm.
right? All of those types of things. And but then also how to make it interesting. So it's more interesting, for instance, to go shopping at a comic book store
Right.
than it is to go and buy potatoes. Like, so we can go and we can find comic books, and we can find video games, and we can find those things. We can still talk about money, and we can still talk about checkouts, and we can still talk about paying a cashier, and all of those things that we would do with potatoes, or whatever you want to talk about in a grocery store. But the comic book store is certainly more interesting, and in all likelihood they already have a lot of the fruits and vegetables, those types of vocabulary. So they're also learning some of that other vocabulary around comic books and video games. And then some of my lessons also sort of take a twist on that graphic novel, right? Like, really visual images, like dialogue boxes, those types of things, because of course graphic novels are super popular for kids in terms of reading. And, if we can have that sort of graphic novel-y type approach, they're like, oh, I want to read this. Like,
Right.
it's
I did
interesting.
a class today for Tiger School, and they had you click on it, and it told you about it was about science, gravity, and you would click, and there would be a bubble comes up with the question. Click again, a bubble comes up with the answer, kind of like a comic book type
Yeah,
style. So I
yeah,
thought that was interesting.
yeah. I did a
Um,
Tiger School lesson the other day, and it was it was really a basic one, like, how do you get to school? But they had one of the screens, you clicked, and the robot head changed to this person, and then you sort of filled it in. I go to school by bike. And then the next you clicked again, and then the robot head changed to another person. I go to school,
yeah,
by
some of
car.
that stuff's confusing.
Well,
when
there's a
they
lot of clicking in Tiger School. It's like click,
Yeah.
click,
And
click, like what?
some of the stuff is like, I hope the kids understand this. Maybe they understand it more than I do, because sometimes they switch, like they had the bike with the square wheels in one of the trial classes, and
Oh,
then
I
it
know.
has
I hate the bike with the
triangular
square
wheels.
wheels. I'm like, why does the bike have square wheels? This is so weird. Yeah,
Yeah, so it totally is something that kids like. But yeah, all that clicking, like I could never. I mean, I can use Canva. I can do some pretty, cool stuff there, but what you're doing takes a whole nother level of something. I don't know really what.
well, and then I've started making videos too, because I'm like, oh, I can't find the right video to go with this lesson. And
Mm.
so I've started making animated music videos. And I'm building those mostly in Canva, but then using AI to help with the
Oh,
music.
nice.
Um, and then, using animations in Canva and putting them anyway. They're like, oh, I wonder, can I make it do this? Can I do this?
Wow. That's so
And so I've been having a lot of fun with those, because then I'm like,
that's my other question. Do you, like, if say I bought your curriculum, I want to teach kids, do I use Zoom or do you use another type of
So you can certainly do it in Zoom. It's no problem. I prefer Koala Go, which has a co-browser. And the reason that I like it is because when I screen share, just like I do in Zoom, it is loading the web page. So you actually have this web page that when I'm on the web page and the student is on the web page, we're looking at the same web page and we can both click and we can both drag. And so in Zoom, you can give, access, right? So remote control so that your kid can interact with stuff on your screen too. But you can only give it to one student at a time. Whereas if I have, 2 or 3 students in a class, Koala Go, I don't usually teach small groups online of more than 4. They can click. So when I have this interactive question, like, which one is a starfish, they can actually click the picture themselves. And certainly with one of my students, he even likes to click the stars himself. So just like in VIP Teacher, where we have the 5 stars, I've built stars into all of the lessons. And so if you're in Zoom, you can click those. You can give the student the star. So you've got that built-in reward system. It's a little bit more engaging. And ideally, you click your own in the co-browser. But I do have students that decide they need a star now, and they just take their own.
Okay.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool. I love that. I did look at your stuff. First of all, I will share my screen and I'll go to your website.
Sure.
If I can figure that out here. Okay, so I do have a link below this video that I put. It's florentislearning.ca.
Yep, florentislearning.ca.
So this is the original. And did you say you have like a practice version?
Yeah, there's a free sample. So if you click on courses and you go to the free sample pack, you get 17 lessons. There's a writing lesson, there's 3 speaking lessons, there's a phonics lesson. And so it's just down just a little bit. Those are the 6 levels, and there's this free sample on the left. And so you literally click enroll now. It asks for your name and your email. And you check out, and you get access to all of these lessons. And if you scroll down, it shows you what's included. So you get 2 lessons for each level. So 2 from level 1, 2 from level 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. And then you get 3 conversation lessons. 1 beginner, 1 elementary, and 1 intermediate. And then you get 1 phonics lesson and 1 writing lesson. Cool. So that you can sort of, and it's lifetime access, so it doesn't go away, right? You can try them out. You can do that. And then the other thing I offer for free, which is also available on the courses, is my placement tools. So if you are working with a new student and you're not really sure what level to put them in, if you've never met the student before, then you can use the placement assessment, which is fully interactive. And then it gives you a level recommendation, as well as an approximate CEFR level or Common European Framework reference level. And it also, there's a learning plan template and a generator tool, so that you can actually then put some goals, short and long term, a comment, all of those types of things into your template and give it to the parent. So it makes you look super professional, and that's free. That's also available at no cost. So you can also have lifetime access to that. And then if you were doing a trial and you're just trying some online teaching independently, you could grab both the placement assessment tool and the free sample pack, and you'd have, this trial lesson suggests they're at level 2. Great. You could jump into one of the level 2 lessons and try it out with them, or try parts of it. So, there's lots that are there already that are free to give people a chance to try things out and see what they like. And then you can get absolutely everything for $10 a month.
Yeah, so that's what I was like, is this right? Because like most of them are a lot more than that.
Yeah.
$10 a month is pretty inexpensive if you're teaching. I mean, one student could bring you in like, more than VIP teacher. I hate to tell
Yeah.
you this, but
Yeah.
everybody
Exactly.
knows it. It's common knowledge.
Exactly. Right.
The
Like,
thing I
so yeah.
the thing I like about VIP teacher is that it's convenient. It's, you don't really do a lot of extra prep. You just go in, you do it, it's the kids in China are really sweet. They are super, super respectful. They love learning. They're very, very pleasant to teach, and it's the convenience. You just go in, you open up some slots, and then you just teach when somebody books you. When you do work on your own, it's going to be a little bit more spreading the word. If you want to teach, kids of a foreign language, how do you get to them? How do they hear about you? There is a little bit more to it than just signing up with a company. I think that's the thing, is that it's easier that way. But it might be easy, like if you want to teach kids how to read, right? In our own country, there's a lot of homeschoolers that, might have little kids. I know myself, I homeschooled. I had my own children. I have actually 13 kids of my own. And
That's a lot of
so it's a
homeschooling.
lot of homeschooling. And some of my kids caught on to reading very easily. They just caught on. And then other ones, we needed to help them. And helping, when you're a parent and you have a struggling reader, it is like you banging your head against a wall. Like, you hate it that you're having this experience with your child, but it happens with some children. You need someone else to kind of be patient, to make it fun, bring, take the stress out of it. And this would be a perfect situation for that.
And
And
certainly, if people want to teach independently and they aren't teaching independently, even starting with something like a marketplace. So whether
Mhm.
it's OutSchool or Amazing
Right.
Talker or Preply or one of the marketplaces, that will help with the marketing, and because they have
That's
students
true.
that are doing the
Yeah.
marketing, but you still need to bring your own materials. And so then Florentis Learning curriculum, then it's like almost like doing VIP teacher, because I just open and I teach and my lessons are ready to go. And I was on lesson, unit 5, lesson 2. Tomorrow I'm teaching unit 5, lesson 3, right? So, you've got that, but then you've got some support with that marketplace because they're recruiting people who are coming specifically to the platform and want to learn a language. They pick a
Yes.
teacher, you get to set your own rates though, right? So you've got more control over what you're going to make
Right.
per hour versus some of the companies that are like, yeah, this is what we pay. We don't care that you've taught for us for 10 years or
Right.
whatever, right? Like, this is what we pay. So, there are ways to get started. And then certainly I know when I started transitioning to independent teaching, it was right after everything sort of crashed in China and things were, I wasn't getting students on VIP teacher, like all of those things. And Magic Years didn't have lessons. And, so I ended up with some of my students that I actually had taught on platforms, as sort of starting point. And then you sort of figure out some of that stuff around, WeChat, you figure out sort of Xiaohong Shu or Little Red Book. And, they have built-in translation in them. So that becomes a little bit easier. And then you get referrals from some of your existing students. You figure out how to post a few things. And so, there are certainly, it's more effort to find the students, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a lot more effort than just opening and teaching once you find your students. And for me,
Mhm.
I've been teaching independently for 3 years now, I guess. And, supplementing with some companies here and there. But for the most part, I've got parents who are like, oh, Eason's classmate was looking for a teacher, so I gave them your name. Oh, okay. And then, you do a trial lesson, you have a conversation with the parent, you start teaching that student. And the key, I think, to that success really is having that really professional, I'm going to do a placement assessment. I'm going to, provide you with a professional looking plan. And so by providing those free tools through Florentis, even that part becomes easy, and parents are like, oh, this person knows what they're doing, they are prepared, there is a curriculum. Makes you have that more polished look that they get from that company. Like if they go to VIP teacher, there's the assessment, there's a trial lesson, like there's a learning partner that's communicating the results of that stuff and trying to do the sales. And so it becomes a little bit more familiar to them. But then they know, oh, I've chosen my own teacher, I'm not just getting whoever I get, right? And this teacher can personalize my lessons, and we can spend longer on something, or we can review something, and we can change things. And I've like Sophie, I've had her I think for 3 years. She was her and her brother were some of my first private students. And Sophie was, it's 3 years, because she was 5 when she started and she just turned 8. And Sophie is now like a A2 B1 level speaker and reading and all sorts of things. But we've gone through a variety of levels and lessons. But this summer, they were looking for something different, so we actually pulled up a book series, and we've been reading books together, and she's super engaged, and her mom's all happy about that. And we still get to talk about vocabulary, and we still get to do little grammar games and activities to sort of reinforce those things. But you have that opportunity, if you're teaching independently, to say, oh, I need to change for the summer, right? We're going to do something a little bit different. So
yes. And I've seen that where I know that serious students, I'll just say, they do become loyal to their teacher. And I personally work in a Christian school. I've taught some of my students math since 5th grade, and this will be my 5th year. So some of them will be going into 10th grade. And in one way, they'd probably like somebody different. But in another way, it's good because I know what they know. I know how they learn. We know each other. We can really, get down to business, and we can, we know each other, and it's a really good dynamic. I like it. And this is I really love your materials. And my friend Kathy's the one who introduced us. Kathy teaches on OutSchool, and she's been trying to get me to do ESL through OutSchool, because I have taught OutSchool many different types of classes. And I did look at different curriculums, and I wasn't really comfortable. It wasn't that I didn't like them, but I just felt like I wasn't comfortable with it. Like I didn't feel like this is me, and I looked at yours, and I felt really comfortable with it. It looked very engaging, like something I could really like put my face to at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I mean, I put my face to these lessons, right? Like I use them in my classroom.
Right.
So that's what I want teachers to present. That's because I don't want them to have to do something that I wouldn't
And
do
honestly,
myself, right?
that is the hardest thing about OutSchool, is making your own curriculum. I've done like introduce your pets. I've done knitting. I've done finger knitting. I make slides, like teach them different aspects of knitting and things like that. But it does take time. And if you only get like 2 students, you've done all that work. And it's not like as fancy as what you're doing, but you've done all that work, and it's like for $10 or something like that.
I know when I taught someone at school as well, and I taught actually babysitting, like babysitting safety, and how to be a babysitter. And I've taught that actually as an extracurricular at the school, right? So in person, and so then translating that into online, building the slides, but like even just getting the course approved on OutSchool, and all of these
that part too. That's what was overwhelming me.
It's a lot, right? And then I even had it. Then I took that and I converted it into like a self-paced one, and had a few people pick that up. And then I tried things with like math, because I taught math and physics in public schools.
Nice.
And so then I've taught like math with like clay, and doing, building something with, with clay, but then doing scale, right? So teaching scale, or so, tried to do a variety of things. But every one of those classes that I prepared on OutSchool was like, it's a lot of work. And And so I was contemplating actually teaching some of my ESL stuff on OutSchool, but right now my private lessons are pretty stable. But I'm like, you know what, if I needed some additional, I could easily just take my curriculum, teach on OutSchool, and it's fine. And I know certainly for some OutSchool teachers, that's what they struggle with, right? It's like, oh, it's so much, I could teach more classes, but I need 3 times the amount of time to prepare, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's like, it's the same. This is sort of gives you that experienced teacher. Like when I taught in the classroom, I had, okay, here's my bin for this course, right? And, and I had a binder and I had handouts and I had stuff that was PowerPoints, all of those types of things that were ready to use and activities. And yes, I adjusted, based on who was in front of me each year, but it was my bin, right? So, this year I'm teaching this one and this one and this one, and I take all those bins in. And I haven't let go of those because I'm like, well, if I go back and teach in the classroom, like all that work, like, but it's hundreds of hours of work to put together like a full classroom course. Like, and so, and if you're spending time doing prep, you don't have that same time to spend with your family or exercising or doing whatever else you want. So using something like Florentis Learning, you get to teach and do what you want to do that's not preparing for classes.
Yeah, and I hope it takes off because, I mean, I believe, like I was tutoring today and I'm like, parents need to understand that the learning is available and you don't need to just settle for, shipping your kid off. Like, even if you send your kids to school, there's extra availability so that your student can be successful in school, like the Chinese kids do. They don't just go to school and come home. They do other activities to improve their intelligence, and we need to catch on to that in our country.
I know
honestly.
that I had a student the other day and I'm like, what did you do today? Oh, and this student is 13 or so. Anyway, and she's like, oh, I had a Chinese, this is summer, right? I had a Chinese class, I had a math class, and I had a physics class, and now I have an English class. Like, this is 4 classes, right? Yeah. On a Friday, and it's like, okay, I guess you didn't do anything that was fun today. So, you want your extra classes, like your English class, to be that fun time, because if you are teaching Chinese students, they are working really hard, even during summer vacation. And it's a small group class, and we were doing a bit of a presentation and debating type activity because it's about speaking and writing. But they then they're doing a little bit of, they don't typically, we were actually learning how to interrupt people politely. That was the goal of the lesson. Cool. And in China, they don't. I'm like, well, how often would someone interrupt you? Never. Like, they don't interrupt people. Wow. This is like an American concept, right? Like, excuse me, I have a question, or may I interrupt for a second? Like, though, that type of language was very foreign to them. But if they want to be in an English speaking school at some point,
you might be interrupted.
They might be interrupted, or they might need to know how to interrupt. Wow. Or they might never get to ask their questions. Right. Right. So
we need to put those together. Like, we interrupt too much, they don't interrupt at all. Maybe a little merging.
Yeah, like somewhere in the happy medium. Like, I was like, and just lots of times when people interrupt, they don't necessarily say, "Oh, just a minute," or "Excuse me." They just start speaking.
Right.
Yeah, so there's lots of different things, and you can have really interesting conversations. For me, it's a lot of fun. I love teaching, and then the lessons are that they sort of become that labor of love, right? Like, how can I make this lesson more exciting, more engaging, right? Like,
well, you make me want to just teach just so I can use your stuff.
Well, see, you can use that, and you could just teach it or jump on a marketplace. And
I'm like, I want to know how to do it. Like, I do teach. I feel like with math, a lot of it you do need paper and pencil, but I do
a whiteboard for math.
Yeah, whiteboard, but I'm just saying, like, if I did a lot of games and stuff, like I tried to do with there's a game Kahoot,
Yeah.
but then the smart kids catch on really quick, and the kids that need to do the computation just wait and or they guess,
Yes.
and so it wasn't working for math
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know how games in a group could work for math class. I mean, it could work as an individual one-on-one type thing, but
And when I used Kahoot and stuff in math, it was more around like math vocabulary, like which one is the isosceles triangle
oh, that's good.
versus the,
Mm-hmm.
which one of these has an acute angle, like, or, how much, like basic, sort of estimating an angle, for instance. And, oh, and
Mm.
you've got options. One is obviously, 45, one is a 135, like, and you're looking and it's like, well, okay, it's got to be 45 or 70, like it's closer to 90. So those
Yeah,
types
that's
of things
good.
where they didn't necessarily have to calculate something, right?
Right.
And then I also use them for facts because I'm a strong, strong believer that kids need strong math facts. And I used to do
Yes.
minute math in my grade 9 classroom so minute math for me had 30 questions, and I used, multiplication, addition, subtraction, and division facts. And I started literally with all addition, then all subtraction, like, each of them separately, and then started putting them together. And we did minute math every single class until everyone in my class could get 22 out of 30 questions in a minute.
Oh, that's good.
And, I had a parent at the Meet the Teacher night in September, third week. And it's like, I don't understand why you have my child, adding 12 and 13. And I'm like, well, yeah, but when they started, they could do 3 questions in a minute. And now they can do 14 questions in a minute. Like, we're going to keep doing this until we hit
Yeah,
22.
that's,
Like,
I mean, math
your
is
child
not
could only
good if
do 3 questions in a minute of like simple math facts. Like,
yeah. And math
so,
isn't good if that's a good idea. I don't really do that, but I always tell the kids, it's not just can you do it, it's can you do it efficiently, because
when the
sometimes
kids are
time is
young
of the
and 11,
essence.
it slows them down, right? Because the math is more complicated. If they're spending all this time figuring out basic math or even typing it into their calculator, right? Versus just looking and saying. And the other issue is if they can't do that quickly in their head, they don't know that their answer is so crazy off that it's not even possible, right? They don't have that ability to sort of say, oh, yes, my math is about right.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, oh, I've made a major error and I should have a tiny number and I have a huge number, or, so they don't gain that math sense. And, some of it is about, actually having conversations about math and talking about math and sort of that math talk. And there's lots of research around that.
Yes, definitely.
Um, I did with fractions, I used to do this thing where I had a recipe and it was a simple recipe for, I don't know, apple pie or something, right? And then we would double it, right? Or now you have to make enough for everyone in the class. So, how many pies do you need? Oh, like, so sort of, and then how many ingredients do we need to make that number of pies? And, oh, wait, it doesn't fit into the pot or it doesn't fit into the oven. You can only make 3. So, sort of working with that
Right.
math story, right? And I was tutoring an adult here just in person, actually, who was working on their pharmacy assistant, and they were trying to get their pharmacy assistant license, and it's math skills, but there's a lot of fractions and stuff in that. And I was like, bring an egg carton with you. And they're like, okay. I'm like, yeah, bring an egg carton. And so they came with an egg carton, and I had about a dozen medication related problems that were all like egg. I'm like, it's egg carton math. I said, it's just egg cartons. I said, and so when she could physically see this egg carton
Oh, that's
with,
awesome.
oh, a third is 4 eggs, right? Like it's 4 of 12. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
so when she could actually see what those looked like, all of a sudden, she was able to then figure out how to do common denominators so that you could add fractions, right? Or subtract fractions. Like, so all of those skills, because she now understood, this is an adult, right? Who's,
Mm-hmm.
gone through school, all of those things, but struggling to pass this competency exam with, with which is requires basic math skills. And so I sort of take that into my lesson development. Like, what could I do that would help students to understand this concept, right? So,
That's very
and
exciting. I love it.
yeah,
It's a
so
great resource. And I want to also share your YouTube page. She also has a YouTube page, which I'm going to stop the other share and share this one. So we have a YouTube page as well, Florentis on YouTube, with some great tips and looks like some, examples of resources.
yeah.
Really awesome.
So the top part are my newest thing where I over the last week have just been releasing some music videos essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And these are animated videos that they're in the lessons too. But it's like, oh, I can't find the perfect lesson that really like the song that covers the right vocabulary. And then so they're my new sort of fun thing. But then under the lives too, I also have I've been doing some webinars lately. And so I did one recently on teaching speaking skills and getting quiet students to talk. And I did one on phonics and teaching phonics. And then I have a complete webinar there on trial lessons and sort of how to make those successful.
Nice.
And that bottom one was one that I was doing with another YouTuber, and we did a live about Notion, which is a great tool just for tracking your stuff, so you know how many students have
Oh,
packages and whether they owe you lesson money or whether you need to ask for
okay.
payment or yeah. So Notion's sort of cool. That's what I use to sort of track my stuff.
Okay. I've
Um,
never heard of that, so I'll have to check
yeah,
into that.
and then there's some tutorials here too about some of the features. So we've got built-in feedback forms with ready-to-use feedback. So if you want to give your parents feedback after the lesson, then it's a copy paste and you just change their names and you're ready to go. And then I've got a tic-tac-toe board where you can just type your words in, and you've got a ready-to-use custom tic-tac-toe board and some stuff about teaching writing, and so sort of a variety of things.
Very nice. I think
Uh,
that's going to be very useful to lots of people.
it's coming. It's my it's relatively new, but
Yeah,
um,
that's very exciting. And thank you so much for sharing with me. And I will also sometimes I'll take the video and put it into on my Facebook or into any groups that I'm on Facebook. That seems to be a great way to do it. I sometimes I'll even share it with some of my friends that I know would be interested in watching it. So not to just leave it here. Hopefully, it can be this interview could be helpful to get you more exposure on this great resource.
and for sure, if anyone has questions or want me to sort of walk them through or give them like a 101 on how to use the lessons, just reach out for hello@florentislearning.ca, and I'm happy to answer questions or to help out if people have questions even about, oh, I want to get started, to give some tips on that as well. So
That's
always
great.
happy to talk teaching.
And that's the thing I learned when I started working for VIP Kid years ago. I think it was 2017. I think I might have started. And my thing was the teacher community was so amazing. Like, I know there's so many amazing teachers and they want to do so much, and sometimes they get locked into an institution where they can't be creative and they can't really even reach the kids. They have to teach the curriculum rather than really focus on what the kids need. They can't, it's just hard. It's so many teachers are suffering, or they're quitting their jobs and they don't know what to do. They're going to all different types of different ways to make money, because we all need money these days.
Yeah.
And this is a great way for us to bring that back, bring teachers their joy back, by teaching online, finding your own students, and enjoying what you love to do. And that, I think, is the greatest thing. And that was kind of part of my YouTube channel, was connecting with other teachers and like encouraging one another, helping each other. And actually, my friend Kelly, who you were on her channel last week, I was on vacation, and I met her in person last
Oh, nice.
a week ago Saturday. So that was so awesome. We've known each other for, like, I think we figured out 7 years. We've talked to each other on YouTube. We've made friends. We connect. We're both teachers, but we also enjoy a lot of the same things. And we're different in a lot of ways too. I do lots of crocheting. She doesn't. But we love to teach. We love to learn. And it was such a thrill to meet up with her. And I'd love to go to PEI.
Yes, no,
Now I
absolutely.
have a reason
Yeah,
to
in the
go to
summer is like
PEI.
the best. I don't crochet, but I do rug hooking. So
Okay.
yeah, I like crafts as well. And actually, I taught rug hooking last fall at our local community school. And
Very
I think
cool. Well, I have a
school is
story
sort
about
of a
that.
PEI-ish thing, but
Okay.
every fall and winter
Mhm.
in the actual schools in the evenings, there's community school for adults, and you can go and you can learn different skills.
Oh,
You could learn to play
nice.
guitar, you could learn the fiddle. I taught rug hooking, there was quilting, there was sort of a speaker a night thing where they learned about safety and all sorts of different things. And people from, I mean, I'm PEI is small, so we have smaller communities, right? But a different class brought a snack for each week, right? And so then there's a pause, and everyone has coffee and snacks, and then at the end it has like a potluck banquet at the end of the 10 weeks.
Oh,
But
nice.
it's been happening in PEI, I think, for 75 years, like a
Wow.
long time.
I
Yeah.
love that.
And there's probably 40 different community schools between September and the spring, like across the island. And there'll be fitness things and craft things, and there's been woodworking and stained glass, and like sort of there's been car
Oh,
repair, like there's all sorts of stuff
wow.
offered,
I love that.
and it's all volunteer driven. So volunteers teach, volunteers organize, and we do it in our local schools. So it's cool. So I still, but when I started teaching online, it was because I missed, like, I had been teaching in the classroom, and then I was in the instructional design world and e-learning, and I missed that connection with students, and I was like, oh well, I'll
Mm.
just teach some classes. And so then I taught VIP Kid and all of those groups, and I get that same, like, it's like, you want to see people succeed, and you want to have the interaction with other teachers, because it's sort of even this time of year, I'm like, oh, there's back to school supplies in the
Mm.
stores, right? I don't need school supplies,
I
but
know.
it's
We want
fun
to
to
buy
go
them
look at
anyway.
school supplies, right? And it's like, oh, look at those pens, or oh, I need a
Yes.
book, right?
Yes. It's just
Um,
such a
so
thrill to have
it's a
that.
teacher thing too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, so having the conversations with other teachers is always, a big part
Exciting.
of it too,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I have a story about the lat we call it latch hooking.
Oh,
I
okay.
was when I saw Kelly in Virginia. That's where my sister-in-law lives, and she was washing a rug, actually, that was made by her grandmother. And it's
Okay.
a latch hooking rug, and it was made with quality yarn. It was an actual rug. I would not probably put it on my floor because it would look black. It's like a cream color. So
Yes.
it's like a cream color with roses,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know how old it is. It's probably I would say 50 or 60 years old, maybe older. But her grandmother made it and gave it to her, and she's going to give it to her granddaughter. as kind of like it's you make it with the quality supplies and take care of it, they can last a long time. It can be an heirloom.
Yeah. No,
So
exactly. And I have some that I put on my wall. I want to make a big one. I actually have a pattern to make a big one that would be like a floor rug. But I haven't chosen my colors for it yet. And it's one of the traditional patterns with flowers and stuff, which isn't normally my style. I tend to do more maritime things, fishing villages and farmers' fields and stuff like that. But I wanted to sort of use this. It's considered a blue nose pattern is what it is, and I wanted to sort of do the blue nose pattern and make that
that
more
sounds
traditional primitive rug.
well.
So
Her grandmother was from Norway, and so they
okay,
grew up like on an island in Norway, like on an island with only a few people.
yeah,
And so they probably did lots of crafts.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, she loved to crochet. I'd never seen her that I probably have seen the rug before. I mean I've been her sister-in-law for many years, but
Mhm.
it was quite a thing. I thought, there's a good reason because I like to knit, but I usually just use cheap yarn.
Yeah,
There's a good reason to use if it's something that you can pass down or keep for a long time. Use quality yarn and stuff like that. But
exactly.
you should do a video about that. I'd be interested in seeing your
Oh,
wares.
I might.
All right. And another thing I would suggest is that you get onto TikTok. That is like
Okay.
a really crazy, interesting place. I got on there on recommendation from someone else and I thought, oh, we'll try it. But there's so many interesting things and crafters do pretty well.
Oh,
And it's just a way to connect with people is really interesting. And
interesting.
I Evelyn Joy, who's also on YouTube, she was doing TikTok and she was going to try to do it to make money. I don't think you can make money very easily on TikTok
Okay.
unless you have something that's like my nephew. He lives in Florida and he does videos about manatees. He
Okay.
actually does do pretty well on it, but I think it's kind of random what the algorithm likes. But there's an interesting community for different topics. You get into crocheting, you get in crochet crazy people. You get in, I'm sure there's a latch hook community or,
Yeah.
virtual teachers community, whatever it is, but it's kind of crazy. And I figure they already know me in China as it is. So, you
Yeah.
know, I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah.
So anyway, it's really kind of fun. Well, thank
Cool.
you so
All
much.
right.
Did you
Thank
have
you.
any last words for our viewers here?
Nope. Just visit the site, grab our free packages, check them out. If you have questions, reach out. But would love to see people check out the curriculum and try it out, and hopefully it works well for everyone as well as it's working for our existing subscribers. Um, and we're always open to ideas. So if you're like, oh, I'd really love a unit on, I don't know what, then let me know. I'm like, oh, okay, that might be a cool lesson or a cool unit, and we can add it.
So I just have one more question. Like we talked about pre-reading. What's the highest level that your curriculum goes to?
So right now my lessons are sort of up to that B1 level. So if you consider that Common European Framework, they go up to B1. So we do get into much more complex topics like inventions and extreme weather events and pollution and like pollution solutions like legislation and all of those types of things. So they're in the upper level lessons. There's certainly more complex topics and reading and nonfiction, but again, trying to keep them interesting and different. And there's one on wonders of the world. It's one of my
Oh,
favorite
that
ones, and
sounds cool.
all the different sort of wonders. Like there's 10 different wonders of the world that are highlighted, and sort of what it would be like to visit them. And so there's
Sounds
that.
great.
And yeah, so there's some interesting upper level topics as well. and it's constantly growing. So there's new lessons almost daily added, and new units and all of those types of things. I'm working to sort of finish up that phonics phase 2. So based on sort of that science of reading and the phases, that's the approach I've taken to the phonics. And then we'll be moving on to more phase 3 type phonics lessons. And I really want to get into my next level writing curriculum, but have to sort of figure out how I translate that into something that's going to be really dynamic and engaging online. So I know how I teach it, my style online, but how I make that replicatable for anyone.
So do you work with anyone else, or is this just you making all this stuff?
No, it's me. I do have a virtual assistant,
Okay.
which is sort of a new venture for me to have a virtual assistant. So that's been super helpful. And she's actually from the Philippines, and so that's been really interesting to do that. But otherwise, it's me. I used to do curriculum development with a group of teachers and use that, but the challenge that I had was it wasn't cohesive enough for me. And so then I would be teaching, and then I'd be like, this unit doesn't work, and then I built my own stuff, and then so this way it's very cohesive, right? Because it's when you start to get into too many cooks in the kitchen, it becomes a little bit less cohesive, and that lack of cohesion becomes apparent to users too and other teachers. So
Right.
That was sort of part of it. But
well, I hope you're going to be famous someday. And I got to meet you at the beginning.
Yeah, well, Florentis isn't a real word, but it comes from Latin, and it means that flourish and grow. So
Oh, good. Okay, I didn't
that's
know
sort of
that.
my
I was
hope.
going to ask you that. What does it mean?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
great. Well, I'm very excited for you, and thank you so much for coming on my channel. I really appreciate it.
great.
And
Thank
I
you.
wish you all the good. I mean, I don't really believe in luck. I believe hard work pays off. So I believe that you have something good and it's going to grow. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great day.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye.